How are you guys doing today?
Great.
Good. How are you?
I'm doing well. Again, my name's Lucas. Feel free to introduce you guys yourselves.
I'm Ed. This is Louie.
What is your guys' job titles with Chicho's, if you don't mind me asking?
Owner-operators.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, technically, I guess he's the vice president and I'm the president, with the brand. And we oversee the existing 9 locations that are operating in the Hampton Roads area.
Cool.
Yep.
So I have 2 themes for this podcast. One, I like Christmas a lot, so I want to do a Christmas story theme. So a past, present, and future is kind of just going to be the reoccurring theme. So if I ever keep asking those questions, that's why.
Okay.
And then the main topic of today is understanding your customer. We're going to talk about customer demographics and whatnot. But to start, I'd like to, again, go back to past, present, future. What's one thing you guys love about past Chichos, present Chichos, and one thing that you're looking forward to, of course, as well?
Past Chichos, for me, I mean, everybody's got the story about the hot and spicy sauce and drinking beer. Their first bar they got into, I'll be honest, it's the first bar I went into underage when I was like 17, 18 years old. So the one in the ocean front. Present, it's interesting because we're doing this today about the customers. And I think last episode we discovered we've been kind of changing what it is with our current lifestyles, which probably is not the smartest. So it's interesting to see how we discover that today for the present. Future, well, I don't know. Let me think on that one. I'll let you do your past and present while I'm thinking of the future.
Well, I mean, the past, my biggest memories of it was really more the nightlife and the bar scene. I mean, it was really fun. We were making money and being out at the same time. And that was really it. I mean, so the past memories of it was really just the nightlife and the bar side of the Chicho's brand. Present, we've transitioned as we've evolved as individuals, because naturally you grow, you get married or have kids. So your objectives change as far as, what you define as fun and so forth. And so we evolved and kind of grew the menu outside of just a simple hot and spicy pizza and draft beer, which was probably the first 30 years of the brand, 35 years. And so that's what the present is. Now, the future, that's a very interesting question because I think we are in the actual process of trying to figure out what is the future. Because we ask ourselves, this brand's been around 57 years. What do we need to do today to see how we can pivot to keep it around for another 50 plus years?
Yeah, that's a good point. I think that was a good point.
Yeah.
If we can try to keep it relevant to an extent to what, growing it as we feel that we need to keep growing it, but also not take away from its roots altogether. I think we struggle with that a little bit currently. We're realizing we're struggling with it. And that's kind of makes it more present and future, I guess.
Yeah.
Because we're trying to see if we can get back to that point of keeping it to where it came from.
Yeah. And when we say keep bringing it back to what it was fun, right?
Yeah.
It was just fun and have that vibe when you walk into a nightclub or bar scene and the energy's, upbeat and, everyone's having a good time, and trying to be responsible, because naturally there's alcohol involved. But, it doesn't necessarily be fun, like moving forward in that sense where it does involve alcohol, like doing this podcast and recording and kind of just documenting our journey and what we've kind of evolved into or grown from, where we're at today. This is the fun part. Because this is something new to us and how can this help Chicho's grow? We're not sure, but I think it definitely will grow the brand.
It's a good step because, we always preach, be uncomfortable, get outside your comfort zone. This is way outside our comfort zone. We've said this in the past. Once I got my first cell phone, when I started working with him back in the day. So that just puts you in perspective of this technology stuff is not us, So this is, let's do something different. And we are,
If it makes you feel any better, it's getting hard to keep up as well at my age. So especially with the rise of AI.
Yeah.
Leads me to my next question is, who do you think your target audience is, I guess, in the past, present, and then going on from the future?
I mean, in the past, like he said, it's weird because we said this on one of the other ones about the brand and what it is. And we called it a lifestyle, but I realized during this, the last time we made it our lifestyle as we got older, our lifestyles changed and we kind of made our brand change with it. But in the past, it was what he said. It was like, we were going out having fun. We were both bartenders back in the day, drinking, going out, just wasting money. You made it, you wasted it, but you had a blast doing it. And through the years, as your life did change, that changed. So the present, for our customers, or repeat that question one more time.
Who do you think your target customer is now?
So that's what it was back then. And I'm going to struggle between doing it now and in the future because we're realizing it right now that we're in certain demographic areas for certain locations, like this one right up the street. It's in a heavy suburban area. It's neighborhoods, families, everything like that. So we target that as a customer. But then him and I go in there last Friday. We get annoyed because we wanted still the later hours of, the younger demographic coming back. So we have this hard time saying we want everybody between 5 and 85. We want everybody.
Yeah.
How to market to them.
And that's where I think some of our marketing agencies in the past have struggled because, again, we're one of the few brands that's open from 11 a.m. to 2 a.m. in this business. And like Ed's point, we try to say we want the 5-year-old to the 85-year-old, but then it's within certain time frames of the day, 11 to 4, 5 to 9, and then after 9 p.m. But then it's different for every location because there's a demographic component that we need to take in consideration within the Chicho's brand in that specific area.
Yep.
So which makes it a challenge for us because we're trying to keep things consistent because, most people, go to certain restaurants or places where they go eat because they like the consistency. And if we're trying to give off a nightclub bar vibe in a suburban neighborhood, that's not going to gel, if that makes sense. And so, I think as we go through this process, we're going to learn to figure out how to specifically market to those specific locations instead of a overall approach that puts everybody in the same shoebox, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. So, because our current brand, you'd have to go out, break down each location.
Some will be stronger at certain aspects of, our business that we try to push out there. Like you said, the different time frames, some will be stronger than others at, certain time periods than other locations. It's weird, but we try to push all of the same aspects into each location, but some are just sort of stronger in different areas than the others. So you got to pick and choose how you take that battle.
So while scaling up to 9 locations, what's been one of the biggest challenges in terms of maintaining that customer satisfaction when each location, pertains to a different demographic?
I'll take that back to, the people you're with, the staff that works there. Those are always important. That's been key because you'll have, we might be struggling with a couple locations right now that might not have the right people in place. Mm-hmm. And you can see the business kind of take a little bit of a nosedive. So it's like finding who the people that will help that location reach that demographic that they're surrounded by. And a couple of them might struggle here and there, and it takes a little bit to figure it out. Mm-hmm. So that's a pretty big part, in my opinion, is the people that you surround yourself with.
So it's human capital. That seems to be our shortfall here because, it's very hard to get someone to understand what we see and try to execute on that. And that's more on the brand identity itself, I think. But from a operational perspective, every business is somewhat the same. You have payroll, you have purchases. So that's what we kind of strive on and teach them to be consistent because we can get them to hit their numbers in training because that's, not the pat ourselves on the back, but that's one of the reasons why we still are in this business.
No question.
Because we've been able to play defense very well when it comes to our payroll costs and our COGS.
Running the business side of it. I mean, it's been the biggest thing that kept us.
Yeah, I think that's the easy part. That's the easy part for us because that's normal for us. For most people, they want
to be flashy, they want to be popular, they want to be on the scene, but then all of a sudden you see that place close like that too.
Yeah,
I wish I could count the amount that I've seen that happen.
Yeah.
Everybody's like, man, that place is killing it. Look how busy they are. I'm like, I bet you within a 12-month period they won't be around anymore.
Yeah, and so that's what's helped us as we've grown to scale that way. But the only things that we try to keep consistent, because we've always struggled with the locations, is the pizza, the wings, and the salad. And that's the consistency from a menu perspective. But then we also have, we try to go after the live entertainment and then the more of a sports bar theme, because some locations are bigger than the others, where they can target the sports fanatics to go there on Saturdays and Sundays.
Yeah, we had this one location that just failed with their Commanders. Since you're wearing that hat. Or no, I thought it was a Commanders hat, but you brought it up. I don't have it. Just to let you guys know, this team's still in it.
So what marketing tactic has been your guys' most fun as of recently? Since you guys talked about you struggling currently, what has been the most fun new tactic?
No, I mean, just the past couple of weeks, we decided to get the location management staffs involved a little bit. And because I think we were struggling to get content before. And it's been weird, I guess, because I think we were very heavy on everybody self-promoting through the years in the past. And then we might be to blame. I think we got to the point where maybe we're too big for that. We shouldn't rely on them doing that, employees promoting when they're going into work, et cetera, like that. And we tried to say, okay, let's do it on our own. But I think we realized we were missing that, human factor of the relationships of the people that are around there with the customers, or even have the customers involved into it. I mean, so I think I'm getting a little excited about having, each location involved a little bit more and trying to get their staff and their customers involved a little more, because people like seeing themselves, so I think I'm excited to see what comes from that, because we're doing that right now. We probably don't have any results out there from it yet, but we're starting, and I think I'm pretty getting excited to see how that turns for us.
Yeah, I mean,
because we used to, when I got the phone, we just used to be text messages. We didn't have social media back in the day. We didn't have that. It was calling everybody, getting them out there. It was just very, one-on-one interactive stuff. But now there's way easier ways to reach people. So trying that.
Yeah, and so that's the fun part. The fun part is getting the engagement from our team members to get involved with the social media stuff that we're doing, and then getting buy-in from them, and then getting them to talk to the customers that walk in there every day and getting them involved with it, because I think that would create a little bit more interaction with the experience and what we're looking for when people visit our locations. And so that's the exciting part of doing this stuff and getting comfortable by doing this stuff. So I think it's turning into the fun aspect of.
How do you incentivize the staff to get involved?
Well, I was about to ask you guys a question.
Okay.
I don't know your exact ages, but I started thinking about it. And I felt like through the years, the generations of, people coming in don't like that social interaction as much. Everybody's on their phones. You guys text and comment over everything. How do you guys take that? When we're forcing people now, they're like, look, we need you to go talk. We need you to get this content. I mean, you guys might be different because you're doing this part of it, but I think the average, my daughter's 17, she's almost 17. She's working up here. I don't think she would respond very well if I asked her to go up there and just start talking to customers and getting interaction, footage and things like that. Because everybody's so into just I don't want to have to communicate in person. I'd rather communicate some other method. So this is going to be a weird thing. So I don't know how to incentivize them yet.
Would you like me to answer that, Chris, or would you like to answer that?
I could go first.
There you go.
Oh, let's see.
Sorry to make it awkward, but
No, that's
curious.
Okay. I honestly think that's just how it is in the present right now. Because I'm sure when texting like happened, people got used to communication like over their phones.
Yeah.
And then now, since like everyone is on their phones, like they get used to that level of communication on social media that they don't necessarily like go out and practice.
Yeah, it feels like we're pulling teeth. So I don't know how to incentivize it. So I'm maybe curious what you guys would think.
I feel like now, because it's so prevalent, like you kind of have to train yourself to do face-to-face communication.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So that's Chris. And how old are you, Chris?
I'm 24.
You're 24. And Lucas, how old are you?
I'm 23 and I turned 24 on February 2nd.
Okay.
Yeah, but it sounds like you're more comfortable with.
So to answer your question, I think everybody at all ages is different. Regardless,
Yeah.
I do think, unfortunately, COVID had a very detrimental effect on everybody's social interactions.
How old were you guys during that?
I was 19, 20 years old.
That's got to be brutal.
I got to luckily enjoy a first semester, freshman year of college with no COVID. And then half of my second semester is when we got to go home. But I do think COVID had a very detrimental impact, not only on my generation, but the rising ones to come.
Yeah.
And so I think now, like you said, it feels like it's pulling teeth, getting people to have these interactions face to face. But I also think it's because schools have become very cliquey. You know, it's very hard now to find your group of kids. And once you do, because of social media, you kind of just stay within your group.
Yeah.
And also the rise of online friends is more so than ever. I have coworkers that I've hired, and they just have online friends. They just work to have their social interaction. So I also think there needs to be incentives for these social interactions. And now people are starting to realize like, wow, I can't build relationships online as well. I can't network online. And a lot of people, I think our age, that 24, that going into the professional world, starting to realize that.
Yeah.
And luckily I've had a lot of practice talking to people, so I'm not too bad. But like you said, it is difficult. A lot of my friends, they talk about going out to bars, and what they do is just stand in the corner and talk to themselves the whole time. And dude, I could have talked to that girl, bro. I could have. Then why didn't you go talk to her, man? What are you doing, man?
Yeah.
That's why I don't go out, man.
Well,
So to answer your question, I think in order to incentivize them, I think you just have to create an environment that's comfortable and welcoming. But it also incentivizes that.
They see it a little bit more too.
Yes. And so I think having Chichos that targets these demographics each individually, I think it does work pretty well as long as it's very locally integrated.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think like ones that are closer to a skating area will definitely have much more of a skating vibe to it. And you'll get more skaters that come there and to discuss more skate things versus a sports bar or a suburban one that's more family oriented.
Yeah.
Right. You made me question my daughter now, because I said that about her. Then when you said that you've never met, employees and stuff like that, she had a friend that I guess she met online when I don't even know how old she was. But last year it was her birthday. It was always during this Orlando volleyball trip we always had to go to. And her mom surprised her by having this kid come there and meet her for the first time. And they acted like they knew each other face to face for years. There was no awkwardness, nothing like that. Huh. So it was pretty cool to see that happen too. So now I'm questioning, maybe she is a little more outgoing in person than I would think.
You don't realize it, but at least what I've discovered in just the last couple of months, but as I've gotten older, the voices of people and the emotions behind their voices mean so much more than their physical presence.
Yeah, you're right.
And that's why those online friends just have so much more power to them. And that's why you said it's as soon as they meet, we've been friends for years. I've heard your voice for years. I've watched you die 3 times in a row because you stink at the game, man.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of that.
I think that is how they met on like Fortnite or something.
Yeah.
Like that. I guess your question is like, how do you incentivize the staff to get involved in that? I think if they're in this hospitality industry for the long game and they're trying to make the most out of their time and in doing so, I think the more engagement that they get with the customers ends up financially better for them, because it builds a relationship with everyone that goes in, and the folks that do come in, the regulars, always never question the price if they think they're getting value out of the service or something in return for their dine-in experience or any experience or bar experience, whatever it is. So that actually impacts them in their wallet, I think. And then I also think there's opportunity for individuals, because you and I've had this discussion, where if they just hone in on that skill of becoming the best server or the best bartender or the best cook on the line, and they're recording it and creating content and relatable to somebody else in this industry, they end up creating their own little community and their own little tribe that they will connect to. And something along that lines, some financial reward will happen, because that's just the wave of the future of this digital age of the gold rush, in my opinion. And so, I use that example with that guy at Papa John's. He probably worked there when he was high school and then saw the opportunity and just became a great pizza maker. And next thing you know, he's the face of Papa John's, right? And it's just that simple. And it's simple like Jake from State Farm. Before social media came, they took an average guy.
Oh, yeah. He worked there too.
And probably worked there, probably did insurance, probably know everything about insurance, and say, hey, or some marketing agencies, hey, let's try this because you are the everyday Joe Smith, whatever it is. And let's make you relatable because everyone will relate with you because everyone needs insurance, right? So it's those simple things. So, and I think if people kind of accept what they're doing and be proud of whatever they're doing, it will resonate.
And probably even just comfort. Like, I think you're filming all of our meetings and things like that, and people ignore it. Like, I'm not the biggest person that likes doing this stuff. I don't like watching myself all scrutinize myself, overanalyze what I look like. When I ignore it, and it just gets like, he asked me, do you want to look over the videos before I do anything? I'm like, no, absolutely not. Just do it. And then when I finally see it, and if it seems okay, I'm like, okay, I'll get a little more comfortable with it now. And I think that maybe that's it. So almost forcing it upon them a little bit until they recognize this isn't bad.
Yeah, and I think they're getting more comfortable with it because we've had 2 operational meetings where we've done some recording, and we're trying to improve our process with that. And it is weird the first few times, but now that I've been doing it on a regular basis with Jake and Ed doing these things, and it's becoming more comfortable for me. So, again, no expectation, but that's part of us growing the brand outside of the brick and mortar space that we're in. Right?
So maybe this is also incentivizing. We're just sitting here doing this and say, see, if we can do it, you can do it too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, one of my final questions is, what's one lesson you've learned about customer behavior so far, past, present, and future? One that you hope to learn as well.
Well, I think there's always a cycle, right, for every individual, because we are proof of that, right? And and our cycle of changing has kind of impacted the path of Chicho's.
And not
today.
to cut you off, but what is that cycle? Going from a bartender to a family man sort of ordeal?
Yeah,
okay.
Because going from a nightclub and bar scenario scene to more of a restaurant, because it's same in the industry of hospitality or the restaurant world, but 2 completely different mindsets, right? And so I think our customers have also evolved, right? And where, a matter of fact, I had a regular customer that I met this past week at a seminar who used to frequent our 29th Street location, which is known for being a local watering hole for people to drink. And now he's older, he's 40 versus his 20s. And now he's
in my head right now, by the way. I'm going to let him finish.
Yeah. And now he's more into more of a high-end cocktail.
I haven't stopped thinking about it since he told me that the other day.
So he doesn't visit that location anymore, which is close to him. But, and naturally as he's grown, his net worth has grown and he can afford more now. And so he would be okay paying for a high-end old fashioned versus
what's been on my mind since then is like, damn, we are missing a segment right there.
So but that's one segment. But see, and I don't know if it's a detriment or not, right? Because there are some businesses, and I'll use Peabody's for an example, been around just as long as Chicho's, and they've never changed.
Yeah,
and they're very good at it, right? I know the owner there. We've known each other, the whole time I've been in business, and so. He's very successful at what he does, and he's never changed that specific niche. Mm-hmm. So it can go either way. Some companies are very good. They keep it simple, stupid. That's the KISS rule, right? And, some people have a very diversified approach and they do everything. And sometimes they're good at that, but sometimes that can also be,
can be detrimental.
It can be detrimental because, and so it's either
us.
way. You can be, focused on one niche, and if you're not very good at it, you can fail.
Yep.
And then people try to diversify, and then saying, okay, let's try to broaden it to leverage ourselves. But then that could also hurt you, right? And so I think we're at that point.
That's where we're at. We've been like that. We've constantly been concerned about, well, what if this, what if that? Because we're growing out of a certain thing. We want to be everything all the time. And it's probably not the best.
That can't be the best strategy at all times.
Yeah.
If you've already touched on your target audience as well.
Well, and the difficult part of that is that we have 9 locations, right? So, Peabody's has 1. So they're very good at what they do. And then our demographics are changing every time we open up a place in a different zip code, right? So that's always been a challenge. And, at one point I thought we were going to be the road of trying to compete with the national brands with carry out and delivery and shortening our footprint to 1,200 square foot unit versus 4,000 square feet. But then that ended up not working because that we're not in the game of the coupon driven price point that these national brands are, because they have the economies of scale that we don't. And they can offer those lower prices where we cannot.
Yep.
And so, that was a mistake that we made. And we've also getting impacted by third-party apps, Uber Eats, DoorDash, Grubhub, that really impacted the delivery business for us. And so that model didn't seem to work after trying to play with that for a year or two, right? But we still, do our own delivery and we still use a third party. So it's part of our business model, but it's not going to be a high percentage of it as what we had thought it should have been, if that makes sense. So
what do you guys see being as your high percentage? Your foot traffic or your online sales or your carry out sales?
We're always going to go after those online sales, carry out sales, etc. But I think so. It comes to be a battle of, and well, this is my take on it. It becomes, if we're not going to be a Pizza Hut, the national chains, because I'm not going to throw anybody under the bus, but he says the economies of scale, but I also think they have the funds to get creative on what kind of ingredients they put in things. And I like to make sure that we are still more on the quality of the ingredients. So that's going to help that one side, the carry out sales, online sales. But it goes back to, we've said this numerous times, the experience. And that's why I think we're big on the staff interactions and, going back into our locations and looking at the atmosphere and what kind of experience can we create for the people when they come there, and we still struggle with it. I mean, it's a struggle to get down the line, especially with 9 stores. I mean, I'll go into some of them and I'll just cringe sometimes. I'm like, wow, what is going on in here right now? Mm-hmm. And I'll immediately grab somebody, go change this, go change that. But you have to give somebody the experience. I mean, and sometimes it's easy as just getting people through the door. You're right, because interactions, just customer interacting with each other and the way the building's set up, they create their own experience and atmosphere. And that's great. It's great when that happens because you're off the hook a little bit. You don't have to be entertainers, is what I like to tell people now. You're in a service business, but you're kind of an entertainer as well. If you're not, have your A game on, you had a bad day, you had a bad night, you didn't get sleep, and you go in there sluggish and just drained, that's going to create a bad experience for a customer, right? So that's where I think we're at. I don't know if everybody agrees all the time, but
you guys have any solutions you want to propose right here?
I mean, I think we know that, and I think we constantly are pushing those things, but it's tough. I mean, everybody has their own lives. So staff has their own lives, and you can't be able to manipulate everybody. Nobody's a robot. You can't clone yourself. You can't make anybody do exactly what you want or how you feel. They're going to feel something that day. Their life hit them hard that day.
Yeah.
So it's where we are. It's just, it's a constant ongoing. You'll never be able to take your foot off the gas or just sit back and say, we've made it, ever, in this business, in my opinion.
Yeah. I think it needs to start with the culture and the mindset, right? So it's kind of like, and it's an uphill battle because, getting people to always be on their A game, smiley face, energetic, and be that entertainer. It's kind of like they're looking for a unicorn.
Yeah.
And I would use a company like Disney as a level of expectation, or the Marriott or Ritz-Carlton.
Chick-fil-A.
or even Chick-fil-A. I mean, they have
My pleasure.
they have a great culture and a great expectation that they live and breathe. And somehow they get that with their team.
Yeah.
Now, if we can figure out how they did it or just copy them and get our team to be on that level, I think the experience will be a net result to the consumer that does come in through our doors. It'd be a great experience. So, but it's a everyday thing we have to continue to work on.
In my personal opinion, my experience with Chick-fil-A, I think their service has gone down in the last 4 years.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh.
And because my expectations now are beyond what I expect. I expect to get my pleasure every single time. And so when I don't get it, I'm like, oh, they didn't say it. I want to report them. And then also, I think what gets me or drives me to Chick-fil-A, it's never, oh, I'm going to Chick-fil-A. The service is really good there. It's oh, I know my order isn't going to get messed up and I know they're efficient.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So, and I feel like that's a much more common thing, at least in the fast food industry. Now, as a restaurant, I'm sure it's much different.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a little different, but it's still the same. The expectation, if you get that great service from any Chicho's location,
See, and that's what I was going to say.
You're going to expect that every time you go in, right? And so, there was one study. I mean, why do there's in this business you just have to be consistent. I mean, people don't go to McDonald's because it's great food.
They mess you up all the time.
Yeah,
but it's
and you'll go back.
But they know what they're getting, and it's the consistency of that expectation or that
it's the cultural expectations already placed.
And so, but it's convenient. It's going to be quick and whatever it is, but it's that that expectation.
Yeah.
So, but it's good to see that Chick-fil-A has weaknesses because I think they're one of the top companies on the globe for being 6 days a week, but and still being privately held. I mean, mad props to them for doing what they do.
Oh yeah.
I mean, just back to the customer thing. I mean, he brought up yesterday, maybe we poll our customers why you come there. And I was sitting there, I just went immediately the opposite direction. I was like, how do we poll people on why they don't?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm sure in this day and age, people love to still follow and look at the places that they act like they hate and when they give bad reviews to. So I'm sure we can get their attention somehow. And I thought maybe that might be the better direction.
Bad reviews do get
I'm open. This month of February, I'm open. Dog me. Tell me what we did wrong. Just bash us. Let me know. I mean, we'll gain something. We might have a lot of hurt feelings, but we'll probably learn something from it.
I actually think this will create an avenue for that.
Yeah.
As this gets more published or as this gets posted, people can easily
comment on it. Yeah. Tell us what we're doing wrong.
But they'll also be able to hear your guys' perspective on why something's been trickled down. Why was this bartender upset? Oh, because his boss made him pose 50 million times to smile in front of these kids. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
But, so yeah, I think this will be that eventually.
Yeah. I mean, because like you said, I think our whole team, everyone's got their own experience or their own story with the Chicho's brand and how it relates to them. And they have what they think the brand should be. And, doing this exercise of reaching the customer base and going straight to the source. And actually asking them the hard question that we probably don't want to hear. Yep. To Ed's point is, why did we lose you as a customer, or why don't you? They're
not going to tell you face to face.
Yeah, they're not.
They need an anonymous, avenue to just trash you.
But we need that constructive criticism and that radical candor because that's the only way we can improve, right? So
you go all over social media nowadays, and you look at independent artists, and you look at when they started. And you look at their comment section and see how much more constructive it is versus how much more critical and negative it is. And it's actually surprising that when people kind of notice, I think, a genuine effort, they're much more constructive, just authentically, automatically.
Yeah. Instead of just being mean.
Especially as we're growing more comfortable online.
Yeah.
I think we are moving towards that. And especially how easy it is now to just be like, okay, negative ones, get out of my face. Yeah. But the constructive ones, going back to what I was saying, there are individual artists and individual journalists, individual anything that have been posting content, let's say 3 or 4 years ago, right when COVID started, that are now very large or very big. The big one that comes to me is Andrew Carnegie, I believe is his name. Channel 5 News, his Instagram. He just came out with a documentary that broke records because it it was independently sold on dearkelly.com. And he sold over 6 figures worth of copies, and just online directly to a consumer versus going into Netflix, going into a movie theater. And I kid you not, he started with a crappy, baggy brown suit. I think his couple of buddies in a van and a camera and a microphone. He's in a crappy suit, and he goes and he just interviewed crackheads on San Francisco. What do you think about Trump? What do you think about this? What do you think about? And he remained as bipartisan or bipartial as possible. And now he's arguably one of the largest independent news sources on Instagram. And it's weird to see that, or YouTube. And so I think, this will be a really good avenue for us. I really do. I think we're going to stop it right there, honestly, if you guys are okay with that. But I always like to go back to past, present, future. So what's one fun memory that you have about the past and the present, that's specific, a specific activity that you did that involved Chichos?
Well, so him and I started a little bit before we were with just Chichos. We started at a different brand together. That's how him and I got together. So, I'm going to go to that as my funny moment story, because when I first started working, he was my manager. I was 20 still. I started working as a doorman at a place called Crazy Charlie's. The first night I worked, the ABC board was out, and it was at ODU. They obviously go out there and try to bust underage kids. We got busted. The first night that I was working, one of the security guards, I was like, oh shit, this doesn't look good as the first night. I don't think I was on the door. But then, I'm not positive how old, or he knew how old I was. The next night, maybe might have been Halloween. And he's like, ABC just busted us. So the manager's working the door the next night. I come up and he just puts a wristband on me and I go in. I was 20 years old. So that's my funny past story.
Because you worked there, so they assumed that you were probably 21.
Everybody thought I was of age, but I was like, man, we just got in trouble yesterday. This guy just put a wristband on me.
Hilarious.
So that was that's how you know your customers a little bit, sir.
Do you have any more recent fun memory?
I don't know. I'm trying to think of a good recent one. I think it's just him and I, last Friday night, just showing up to one of our locations and recognizing that, man, we've just pigeonholed ourselves to be whatever we are in life. And we need to get back and figure out how to get more people involved to kind of.
How often do you guys secret shop at your stores?
I do it all the time.
All the time.
You can't secret shop. They know we're there.
They know us, yeah.
But, I'll nitpick the hell out of the places, more than the managers will see. And sometimes it's frustrating. Sometimes it's not, because they're dealing with everything in the building all at once. And it's easy to miss things. And I'm not watching what they're doing. So I'm like, they're in a more important zone in their eyes at that moment. Meanwhile, I'm looking at it as a customer, what are these customers looking at right now? So it's a little easier for them. But I think that was my most present one. Him and I just realizing that we were we got to stop just changing this with where we're at in our own lives and kind of start putting it back in the customers' perspectives, where they are in their lives. And we want all of them 5 to 85. So here we go. Let's figure it out.
Yeah. And so I guess it really started before the Chicho's brand. To Ed's point, Crazy Charlie's was the origin of the nightclub and bar scene. And that's when I was really heavily into, actively bartending and being out 5-6 nights a week. And there's a lot of fun stuff that's happened,
Great word.
Was there a specific one? To try to keep it, PG rated. I just remember there was an era in the 90s. And you got to imagine, we're in our 20s, right? And for whatever reason, when you're a bartender and just serving people, you have this, it's kind of like a door person, or you get this sense of authority.
You have power.
You have power because you have the
what they want
decision of letting this person in or not in to the nightclub or the bar, drinks. Right?
How you pour it.
And so I don't know if there was a specific, but I just remember having that power as a bartender to have fun in doing so, because you can do a lot when you're a bartender and become a manager of a bar. And there's a perception that people put you on this pedestal. So I would say
until a certain age, then they come back and look at you like, what are you doing here? Shut up. I'm making more than you.
And at some point you outgrow it. But I would say, it was fun. That whole era was fun. And then really taking and making the most out of that opportunity, because, people get in this industry, they think that it's transitional. I'm just going to do this until I find my job. Right. And I remember alumni would come in. This is through 2-3 years after I graduated. And they're like, dude, what are you still doing here bartending? And I was like, and he would like look at me like putting me down. And I'm like, dude, I make 3 times as much as you make because I know what you do. He was a fraternity brother. I was like, you don't make that much money. And so, I kind of put himself in that place. But people have this perception that they kind of look down at, people in this industry. And, I believe it's one of the best industries to be in because you have the ability to network, you work on people's skills, and, it builds a lot of character and a lot of work ethic. And so,
as long as you're disciplined. Yeah.
And as long as you don't get into that rut, because this industry, the nightclub bar industry, can put you in a rut. So that was just a fun era in my life. I would say, early 90s, that was a good time. What I'm looking forward to now, like present. And it's funny because, there are all these questions that you guys ask. Hey, what would you tell someone that's starting in this business? Or what would you tell your younger self? Right. And,
we're still telling ourselves this.
Yeah, it's funny. Well, here I have an opportunity because, I'm 30 years older than my son, and I'm living vicariously through him. Right. So it's not just me telling myself what I do. It's kind of like I'm in this journey right now with my mini me. And I'm like, wow, this is like if I was getting ready to live my 20s and how I would redo it and with the technology that's out there today and say, hey, let's figure out how to capitalize on this. And, kind of bought into what he's doing and, him being excited and enthusiastic about doing this stuff and getting on this journey and taking it to the next level. So that's the fun part that I see, because there's a direct connection with him being my son and building a relationship, that working together. And sometimes it's very hard when you work with family, but so far, knock on wood, everything's been good. So,
and it is weird though, because we sit there, they ask us these questions. What would you tell somebody? I'm like, I'll tell you the same shit I'm telling myself. I got to figure it out still right now. We're going through it as well. I mean, we got a couple of years behind us. I can give you some experience, but shit, we're just trying to redevelop, and it's almost like starting over every day sometimes.
Yeah.
So, any closing remarks?
No, that was mine right there.
Yeah, I like that one.
We're good.
It's like starting over every day.
Every day.
Yep.
All right. Well, we're going to start over tomorrow then, guys.
All right. Appreciate you guys.
Appreciate you.
Thank you.